A city uprooted demolition at SKD Boulevard Junction. The air is thick with dust. The rumble of bulldozers echoes through the streets. This is the scene at SKD Boulevard Junction in Monrovia, Liberia, where homes and businesses are being demolished. The government claims this is necessary for development, yet for the residents it is a story of displacement and loss. Many have lived here for generations. They are now being evicted, forced to find new homes with little notice or compensation. The impact is immediate and devastating. Families are separated, businesses are destroyed. The demolition at SKD Boulevard Junction is not an isolated incident. It represents a larger trend of displacement in Monrovia, where the poor and marginalized are often the most vulnerable. The crushing weight of poverty in Monrovia. Monrovia is a city of stark contrasts. Gleaming new buildings rise next to sprawling slums. The gap between the rich and poor is vast. Poverty in Monrovia is not just about a lack of income. It is about a lack of opportunity, a lack of access to basic services. Overcrowding is rampant. Informal settlements lacking proper sanitation and infrastructure are commonplace. The city struggles to provide basic services like clean water, electricity, and healthcare. The demolitions at SKD Boulevard Junction only exacerbate these existing problems. A flawed vision. Demolitions as modernization. The government justifies the demolitions as part of a modernization plan. They argue that Monrovia needs to be transformed into a modern city. They envision wider roads, gleaming buildings, and a thriving economy. But this vision is flawed. It fails to address the root causes of poverty and inequality. Demolishing homes and businesses without providing adequate alternatives only deepens the suffering of the poor. It creates a cycle of displacement and dispossession. True development cannot be achieved through forced evictions and the destruction of livelihoods. Section 4. Beyond bulldozers. The need for comprehensive urban planning. Monrovia desperately needs a comprehensive urban plan. This plan must prioritize the needs of all citizens, not just a select few. It must address issues of housing, transportation, sanitation, and infrastructure. It must ensure that development benefits everyone, not just the wealthy. Such a plan requires community engagement. The voices of the poor and marginalized must be heard. They must have a say in shaping the future of their city. Sustainable development cannot be imposed from above. It must be built from the ground up. Section 5. Decentralization. Learning from global examples. Monrovia's problems are not unique. Cities around the world face similar challenges of overcrowding, poverty, and inadequate infrastructure. Some countries have found success in developing secondary cities. This takes the pressure off the capital city and promotes more balanced regional development. Rwanda, for example, has invested heavily in developing its secondary cities. This has created new economic opportunities and eased congestion in Kigali. Liberia can learn from these examples. By investing in infrastructure and creating incentives for businesses to relocate, it can encourage growth outside of Monrovia. Section 6. The urgency of basic needs. Housing, education, healthcare. Development cannot be measured solely in terms of economic growth. It must also be measured by the well-being of citizens. Access to affordable housing, quality education, and healthcare are fundamental human rights. Yet, in Monrovia, these rights are often denied. The government must prioritize these basic needs. It must invest in building affordable housing units. It must improve the quality of education and healthcare. Only then can true progress be achieved. Section 7. Towards a more equitable Monrovia, the path forward. The demolition crisis at SKD Boulevard Junction is a wake-up call. It highlights the urgent need for a more just and equitable approach to development in Monrovia. The path forward requires a fundamental shift in perspective. The government must move away from top-down development schemes that prioritize profits over people. It must embrace a people-centered approach that puts the needs of citizens first. This requires transparency, accountability, and a commitment to good governance. It requires listening to the voices of the people and working together to build a better future for all.